Cleopatra. Say hello. I want to talk about ego. In my past, in high school and college, I was really fascinated with becoming less egotistical for whatever reason. But I want to talk about how you can overdo it and really the subtlety to it. Because I think there are a lot of lessons that are very hard to learn. You come into the world not knowing anything, and there are a lot of lessons that certain people need to learn the hard way over and over again, and this is one of them for me. Is when you learn something, you can't take an extreme position with it necessarily, which sounds obvious, but I think it's pretty easy to take an extreme position without realizing it. And for me, this was one of them, was trying to be less egotistical by means of destroying pride and vanity from my character. I think a lot of people think that pride and vanity are negative characteristics, and they certainly are abrasive when people display them in annoying ways. It's really difficult to interact with them without being smacked in the face by their pride or their vanity constantly. It's just noise in the interaction, like a white noise behind trying to connect with them. And that's certainly true. But when you are trying to get rid of pride or vanity, you should only get rid of it externally. Because I think internally, pride and vanity are crucial to your character, to good character. And they are constructive forces rather than destructive forces as they are externally. They're destructive to human relationships, but internally they're constructive to good character. And this is why I say that, because if you're prideful and if you're vain, then you care about your appearance. You care about the way that you appear to other people. How could it possibly be egotistical to be so concerned with the way that you appear to other people that you're obsessed by it, or you go out of your way to appear certain ways? You can look at it one way as saying it's egotistical because you care about your image, but at the same time you're also putting such high value on the opinions of others and your interactions with others that it's far removed from true egotism, which is a solipsistic attitude, not even acknowledging the existences or significance of others. So it's not purely egotistical to be prideful or vain. And if you have a healthy sense of pride and a healthy sense of vanity, then you'll try to make your character better. You'll try to improve, and you'll have internal motivation. Because when you grow up, you don't have the external motivation as you do something right and your mom's like, "Oh, good job, I'm so proud of you," exaggerating like you need to do with kids. You don't have that when you're an adult, and a lot of the times you'll do the right thing and no one will notice, or maybe some people will notice and no one will say anything because the world is a very busy place, and perhaps it was insignificant to them but very significant to you. You need internal motivation to keep that up. Otherwise, you're just going to get bitter when you're not praised for it, and you're going to stop doing the right thing and just not care about it anymore. So with pride and vanity as your internal motivators, but destroying it externally so that it is not interfering with your interactions with other people, that's probably the most moderate position to take. And you don't need to feel ashamed of being prideful or vain. I mean, I've never talked to anybody about this, but personally, there have been times when I feel like a rush from doing something that I think is the right thing. Like, I remember reading this book about acoustics when I was studying audio recording. Over the summer I was lifeguarding and I was reading this book about acoustics, and it was really dense and it wasn't required reading or anything, but I found it really interesting and I was really getting some in-depth understanding of acoustics as they relate to music and audio recording, and then how sound works within a room and different ways you can treat it. And it was just creating this map of how things worked in my head. And at one point I remember reading, and I was more concerned about how awesome I was for doing this than I was the actual material, because the material was like, it could have been anything. It could have been any type, any field, any information. As long as it was giving me a better understanding of something and then I was working towards a goal, I think I would have had the same reaction to it. It didn't really matter what the material was, just that I was understanding and feeling good that I was understanding. And because I felt this way, I was driven to read more and to learn more and to develop my skills in that area. And that's not something you don't want to like go around and say, oh, I just finished reading this chapter, and then start explaining stuff about recordings like someone who's an acquaintance and is not even into recording or something. That's just a social faux pas, but you can still have it as the internal motivator, and it's not destructive, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it. So don't take destroying your ego too far, if that's something that you're trying to do or flirting with. Everyone needs a sense of ego, because if you didn't have a healthy sense of ego, you wouldn't know how to interact with the other people that there are. And I guess that would be very egotistical, to not properly interact with other people in the best way that you can through use of a healthy ego.